Because we want to clear these. Explore that elbow. Take it out of the hand and just, yeah. 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 One more, think about a little faster. Yeah. Yeah. Good, Eric. What do you got as far as your feels?
Honestly, I like coming set like that.
I know.
Like
you're presetting angles.
Yeah,
makes sense, right?
And so the first couple times I did it, I was more like flush like this. Okay. I was like, okay, like this knee is like in a weird spot. Right. I was like, okay, like this.
Yeah, it kind of happens, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because as soon as you lift from here, you lift. You're gonna cross regardless, and as soon as you cross, you're gonna shift. That's why I just say start there.
Yeah.
You know.
So now I feel like once here, I like coming set up here. This is too big.
Yeah. And I think for some reason you coming set down here creates too much like space.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like swooping.
I don't know what the happens, but I feel like I can stay. I can keep this hand.
Yeah. And you know another thing I noticed too is like you're not dipping as much with that hand movement. There's almost like a simultaneous movement for you.
But I feel if I can get the tempo down from here, I feel like that we could down.
Because
I just gotta like. You're right. Like the first throw, I'm like this.
How uncomfortable does it feel for you though?
It didn't like. Again, I'm trying to like throw it as hard as you're throwing it, but I know like I'm learning it more.
Yeah.
Because you can get that shit on line.
Yeah.
And I just want to focus on just like keeping my.
No, I was completely okay. Did you understand like the signals I was giving you?
No, I know.
Okay.
But like, so you want me to put my elbow as far back as can.
Not necessarily as far back. I was just saying play with the cue of thinking your elbow instead of maybe your hand.
Well, yeah, but I like the cue for me would just be like turn this back as far as I can.
Okay.
And then.
So the thing that I saw out there was maybe I was wrong, but I thought that when you were aggressive, like pulling like a lawnmower, you know, that threw off like the trunk's overall posture, and then what that did was it forced you to spin off. So like, it's funny, right? Because for every like thing and cue there's like another compensation that could fall into a bad pattern. So it's like, that's why it's precise. But like the ones that you did good, it looked like smooth leading to effortless by way of just like, all right, I'm in the right position here. Okay, now I'm just gonna pull, and like whatever you were thinking, you got your shoulders disassociated from your hips. And that's why was I talking to you about the PVC pipe?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing that we need to be like a little bit attentive on is like, you might have just like an anatomical structure that's forcing you to perceive hip rotation different. Because the first thing that I noticed was like your front foot was like this.
Yeah.
So like that's why we got to be super mindful of how we train too.
Get in the right position to start.
So remember the other day I was saying like, hey, do a lot of things in split squats and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's another piece. So like every time you do an exercise, like make sure you're parallel, right? Because like that's how I was when I first started training with ATP. And like every rep, I'd want to do this because it was just more like comfortable.
Right.
So you can see as soon as you elbow retract, your knee goes in. So that's another thing that we can start playing around with, especially in the weight room, where we get like bands and amplify the problem, amplify it pulling in, and you force yourself to stick into that posture, and then you can do your arm care. But now you're telling your body like, no, I don't want this. I don't want to cave in. I don't want to be able to not, because that could be another issue of why this isn't clearing. Because it knows that this wants to land closed, and then as soon as you complete rotation, it's going to boom, and now you're limited to the amount of rotational blockage you have up the chain. But yeah, dude, as soon as you get comfortable with those, then you can start teasing in like the actual like speed of it, and then we can really see where we're at. Because it looked to me like when I was out there, it didn't look like you were, throwing.
No, I was just lobbing.
And that's the beauty of it too, is like you start to realize, okay, what is leverage? Like what is my trunk throwing my arm feel like?
Right.
And that's the biggest thing I want you to get a feeling for, is just like you sequencing in such a way that now the arm is just a kind of byproduct of you rotating on time. So then when we long toss, we'll go 300, 350, and you're like, frick, dude, I haven't used my arm until 325 feet.
Right.
You know, and then you start getting that like, okay, now I'm just gonna blend that over into the mount. And that's why I really like doing, I was glad you copied me, like leg lifts out at a pretty good distance. So you do segmentation throws at a good distance, then you do leg lifts at a good distance, and you start like showing, hey, this is how we sequence powerfully, right?